So hey there fellow YouTubers, Frank Bush here again. So this weekend I wasn't able to get out into the field. I'm just doing a little side project now of creating some fire starters. So I've got some hanks of jute twine. I actually found those when I was out in the field and thought, oh, I've got a good use for them. But I've got an Altoids tin, and I've got a can here that I've melted down candle wax, and I'm just remelting it at this point in time. I keep this can primarily for doing this task, so there's normally wax sits in it always, but I'm just warming it up. As you can see, I'm just warming it up down to the last little bit, kind of melting in the bottom of the can. But the thinking really is that this jute twine that I have will be dipped into this wax and then let cool, and then it'll be cut into lengths which can fit into the Altoid tin comfortably, and then when used later on, you kind of shred the jute twine and throw some ferro rod sparks into it, and away it goes. But I'll kind of show you as I go. So really this is a fairly simple project. The wax is pretty well melted now, but yeah, this is a fairly simple project. So I'm just going to take a strip, my first strip of jute twine, and just start to set it down right into that kind of pool of wax, if you will, and just let it kind of soak itself in, impregnate that as much as possible. I'll leave just a little bit just for my fingers to hold. Now I'm gonna take this. I actually have just a brown paper bag that I've set here because I thought, well, if I leave wax everywhere, I won't hear the end of it later. But I'll just pull that wax off now and let it sit and cool. Do the same with the next tank. Say, just simple process. Set the rope into the pool of wax. So they don't have to soak in there for long periods of time or anything. No, this stuff it's not rocket science stuff. It's literally just wet the cordage into the wax. The main trick in any of these types of things is not to leave too much of a mess, and that way I don't get killed when my partner comes home. But yeah, that's the thinking really, is I'm just going to pull that wax back out now, or that cordage back out now, and whew, it gets a little warm. And as you can see, I'm getting a bit of wax on stuff, so gonna make sure I get rid of all of that evidence before I'm done this entirety, or before she comes home, whichever comes first. Whew. It does get hot on the fingers, but you get wax coat on your fingers as well. It kind of helps protect them as you're pulling them out. And like I say, not really an elegant thing, but all I'm going to do is let that jute twine cool now with the wax into it, and then kind of form itself a protective barrier. And then I'll cut them up into chunks and dip the ends into the wax again before it hardens and cools, to kind of help keep them all waterproof and that type of thing. Well, I'll go through that step in a minute. Like I say, I'll just give it 5 minutes to let this cool. Okay, so kind of accelerate the process of cooling down this twine. I'm just gonna stick that in my freezer for a couple minutes. Nothing fancy. Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes or so. Sitting in the freezer. Now, as you can see, it starts to stiffen up a fair bit. It's got a lot more bone to it now. But when I pick it up, it's far more firm. So the thinking is, I'm just going to lay it out. Let's see if I can catch this on the camera at all. But I'm going to take my Altoids tin. And take strips of this jute twine now, kind of straighten them out, and I'm going to cut those so that the length of them is just shy of the Altoid stand. That way they can fit in there nicely. And then I'm just going to take it, and I'm just going to dip the ends back in wax. Try to get those to lay flat. I'm going to do that through this entire length of cordage now. And really all you're trying to do here is just to ensure that you're sealing it again as much as you can, just in case this tin gets wet. I mean, it'll be effective to use it as it is right now, but just in case this tin gets wet, you want to try to just make sure that the wax is sealing things in with a waterproof coating as best as possible. So I'll just process through this length of cordage that I have and do exactly as I'm showing, and just kind of fill up this tin. I'll let them sit for right now just to cool, but I'll fill up this tin now with these. You'll see that in the next step. Okay there, fellow YouTubers. So just throwing in last little bits that'll even fit into one of these Altoid tin cans, but that's really all I've wanted to accomplish to do, is to fill this tin as much as possible. See if I can catch it on the camera okay. You can get lots of them packed in there. Now the thinking really is, I mean, I'll be able to make more, potentially enough here to even fill 2 tins, but the thinking really is now I'm going to want to fray open this material. I don't know if the camera's catching it that well, but you kind of fray it open and expose the fibers of the jute twine as much as possible. When you throw a ferro rod spark into that, it'll just take and go, and the candle wax will cause it to hold the flame and extend the life of that flame for a few minutes. So makes a great fire starter. So I'll just try to do an example here of kind of how to work this stuff once you're out in the field. So kind of loosen up the middle of it a bit, just to kind of soften the material, because the wax causes this jute cordage to become quite kind of firm, if you will. And just, like I say, loosen it up in your fingers, try to break it apart. Quite often you just turn around and use the back of your blade or the back of your saw blade to kind of fluff it up and turn it into almost like a, see if I can catch it on camera very well, but almost like a little tinder ball. So then the thinking really is just want to throw your ferro rod spark into it. As you can see, I took the ferro rod spark very easily, and it'll hold that flame because the wax impregnating into the cordage. It'll actually burn quite well and quite fiercely for quite a few minutes. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how to create a simple jute twine and wax fire starter. It's they say even if you blow it out and you don't use the entirety of it, and you came along and later on in time you turn around and said, all right, well, I'm gonna throw my spark back into it again, and I might have to rough up this cordage again, but yeah, I would. But needless to say, and once you get your fire going, if you haven't burned all your material, you could potentially use these over and over again. And now on the ends of it, because it's a charred material, once this kind of cools and the wax settles, if you fluff this up again, it'll become extremely easy for this to take a spark off of a ferro rod. But hopefully this is a quick little example of something other than just cotton balls that you can use with Vaseline. You can use jute twine with candle wax. Works just as well, if not better in some situations in my perspective. But there you have it. I was just throwing these together, kind of get them ready for the next video. I'll probably end up using these as my way to kind of help get the fire started next time, but just thought I'd throw them together this weekend because I knew I was busy doing a bunch of other things. I'm going to be exploring some terrain I haven't been into, and I don't know if I'll catch any video footage of that, but either way, I thought I'd just kind of put something together for you guys to see, and there you have it. Thanks for watching.